U.S. President Donald Trump signed a funding bill to officially end the longest ever U.S. government shutdown.
The European Commission has unveiled Democracy Shield, a roadmap to better protect democracies from foreign interference.
Russia continues to launch airstrikes at Ukraine while its troops further infiltrate Ukrainian positions in Zaporizhia.
France is marking 10 years since the Paris terror attacks with ceremonies at each site to honor the victims.
And it's an honor now to sign.
The longest ever U.S. government shutdown officially ended on Wednesday after U.S. President Donald Trump signed a funding bill negotiated by Republican lawmakers and a small group of moderate Democrats. After 43 days, the Democrats did not manage to secure guarantees to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credit that lowers the cost of health coverage, a demand that led to the shutdown in mid-September.
This outcome was totally foreseeable. I said that this would be the outcome when all this began back in mid-September. They did it anyway. Democrats admitted that they used the people as leverage, and they got nothing for their selfish political stunt here. They didn't achieve anything with this at all.
Democrats said they would not give up on the subsidy extension even if the vote did not go their way.
Republicans have played a game of chicken with food assistance, travel safety, and federal paychecks, all because they will stop at nothing to cut your health care. The only thing that congressional Republicans are more loyal to than Donald Trump is to cutting the health care of the American people.
Without the enhanced tax credit, premiums on average will more than double for millions of Americans.
The bill is passed.
More than 2 million people would lose health insurance coverage altogether next year, the Congressional Budget Office projected. Republicans promised to hold a vote by mid-December to extend the health care subsidies, but there is no guarantee of success.
The European Commission has unveiled Democracy Shield on Wednesday, a roadmap to better protect democracies and electoral processes from foreign interference and information manipulation, including those originating from within the bloc itself. The Commission has explicitly and pointedly included EU candidate countries in this defensive plan.
And the communication on the EU strategy. At the core of the Democracy Shield is reinforcing public trust in democracy and democratic institutions. The European Democracy Shield rests on 3 pillars. First, safeguarding our information space. Second, strengthening democratic institutions. And third, boosting our societal resilience.
The centerpiece of Democracy Shield is the creation of a European Centre for Democratic Resilience to identify destabilization operations and coordinate the work of fact-checking networks. The Commission also proposed setting up a voluntary network of influencers to hold accountable those influencers who are taking part in political campaigns. For Nathalie Loiseau, French MEP and head of the Democracy Shield Committee, the Commission must first apply the rules it adopted to regulate its online sphere.
Ce qui se passe aujourd'hui, c'est bien sûr des ingérences russes massives. C'est aussi le comportement de plateformes comme TikTok, sur lequel il y a beaucoup de questions qui sont posées, mais c'est encore plus la collusion entre l'administration américaine et les plateformes américaines. Et là-dessus, on a l'impression qu'Ursula von der Leyen a du mal à passer le cap. Elle nous dit, elle écrit qu'elle va mettre en œuvre les législations qu'on a votées. J'allais vous dire encore heureux.
Several rules aimed at protecting electoral processes have already been adopted, for example in the Digital Services Act and the AI Act. Yet under pressure from US tech giants backed by the Trump administration, Commission sanctions have yet to materialize.
Moscow continues to launch airstrikes at Ukraine while Russian troops further infiltrate Ukrainian positions in Zaporizhia. Overnight into Wednesday, Russian drone strikes struck the central Kharkiv region, injuring at least 5 people.
Влучання в промислове підприємство жодним чином не стосовується військового підприємства. Крім цього, постраждало 20 житлових будинків. Це 5 приватних житлових будинків і 15 багатоповерхових.
The attack comes as the Russian army overran 3 settlements in the southern Zaporizhia region of Ukraine, where dense fog enabled Russian troops to infiltrate Ukrainian positions. The cities of Kupiansk and Liman in Ukraine's northeastern Kharkiv region have also recently witnessed an uptick in combat. However, the fiercest battles are still in the besieged Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk in the eastern Donetsk region. Here, close to half of all frontline clashes took place over the past 24 hours.
Lawmakers in France's lower house of parliament, the National Assembly, approved a measure on Wednesday to suspend a controversial pension reform. The vote, which passed with 255 in favor and 146 against, followed a major concession by the country's new prime minister, Sébastien Lecornu, to the Socialist Party to avoid censure. One of the biggest was offering them a suspension of President Emmanuel Macron's plan to raise retirement age from 62 to 64. Budget debates in France have recently gained significance since Macron's snap election last year resulted in a hung parliament. Earlier this year, lawmakers voted to remove Prime Minister François Bayrou after he called an unprecedented confidence vote over his controversial 2026 budget plan. France, which has had 5 premiers in just 2 years, is continuing to struggle to rein in a budget deficit, which has become the largest in the Eurozone. The country's public deficit hit 5.8% of GDP in 2024, totaling 168.6 billion euros, a figure well above the maximum allowed by EU rules. UK Health Secretary Wes Streeting has denied allegations that he's plotting to take down Prime Minister Keir Starmer. The senior British cabinet minister described the rumors from inside number 10 Downing Street as, quote, self-defeating and self-destructive. Close supporters of Starmer in briefings to the media said that challenging the UK premier would be reckless and have dire consequences for the country's economy and international standing. Streeting, who's widely tipped as a future Labour Party leader, said that Starmer should fire those responsible for the remarks.
It's totally self-defeating briefing, not least because it's not true, and I don't understand how anyone thinks it's helpful to the Prime Minister either to suggest he's fighting for his job at a time when, last time I saw him on Monday evening to talk about violence against women and girls and how we tackle it, he's fighting for the country and trying to turn it around from the absolute mess that we inherited.
Starmer has been struggling since taking office in July last year, with his public opinion dwindling week on week amid the rise in far-right anti-immigration Reform UK's popularity. Reform UK, led by Nigel Farage, has consistently topped British polls for months, creating a difficult situation for Starmer, who's been unable to deliver on his campaign objectives. One of his flagship promises included economic growth. Recent statistics, released on Tuesday, showed unemployment figures climbing from 4.8% to 5%.
10 years ago, Islamic State gunmen and suicide bombers rampaged through cafes, restaurants, and the Bataclan concert hall in Paris, leaving 130 people dead and hundreds injured. They struck within minutes of one another. Suicide bombers detonated outside the Stade de France, gunmen fired on cafe terraces, and 3 attackers stormed the Bataclan at 9:47 p.m., killing 90 people before police ended the siege. 2 survivors who later died by suicide have since been recognized among the victims. The attacks were the deadliest in France since World War II, prompting the hardening of security while deepening a civic reflex for solidarity that endures a decade on. As France prepares to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the attacks that reshaped the country's sense of safety and purpose, the date reopens wounds for many survivors. Paris is marking the anniversary with a sequence of tributes led by President Emmanuel Macron and Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo at each attack site. The commemorations will culminate with the opening of a memorial garden opposite City Hall that includes plantings that echo the attack sites and benches for reflection.
After a 2-year break, the World Press Cartoon Exhibition has returned to Portugal. Political figures including US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin dominate many of the works. Topics such as global warming and Israel's war in Gaza also took center stage.
O Press Cartoon é salão de referência do humor gráfico publicado na imprensa. quer seja cartoons editoriais, caricaturas ou gag cartoon. Hoje, com as fake news, com a censura, com as pressões, eu acho que com cartunistas despedidos, jornais fechados, tudo isso faz do Old Press Cartoon um salão muito desejado, muito querido pelos cartunistas de todo o mundo.
This year's big winner was Darko, a cartoonist from Montenegro. His work depicts the Statue of Liberty with her mouth sewn shut by Trump's signature.
Po mom mišljenju, Trump je stopirao svaku slobodu ljudi u Americi, napravio je granice među Meksika i USA. Ima, po mom mišljenju, vrlo loše planove uopšte i zato sam napravio da svaki njegov potpis zatvara usta svakom slobodnom čovjeku.
And a rather grotesque drawing of Vladimir Putin won Germany's Frank Hauptmann the first prize in the caricature category.
Die ganzen Schergen, ob das Putin, Erdogan, Trump ist, die wollen von Cartoons, von kritischen Zeichnungen, von kritischen Medien überhaupt nichts wissen. Und das ist dann natürlich unser Job und da gehört sicherlich ein bisschen Mut dazu, obwohl wir natürlich, wir sitzen zu Hause und sind relativ in Watte gepackt und können uns das erlauben.
The World Press Cartoon displays around 300 works that have been published in newspapers, magazines and websites from across the globe. The exhibition can be seen at the Palacio Anjos in Algés until February 8th.